Now, these days, I often hear people expressing an increasingly popular view that Ghana is now beyond salvage. The problems are far too many for us to solve, and new ones are being added every day. Simply put, we are doomed. Well, if you're one of those Ghanaians who thinks so, then I want to tell you a story that I have told here before, but I'm convinced some of you need to hear again. Two frogs fell into a well. Now, as they struggled to hop out, their brothers, sisters, and neighbors gathered around the mouth of the well. Seeing how far down they had fallen and realizing how impossible it would be for them to leap high enough to clear the edge of the well, they all shouted down to the two frogs, telling them not to bother. No use expending all their energy for a lost cause. If they just stayed put, they might live a bit longer at the bottom of the well. One frog stopped trying and settled down to get used to his new and permanent environment, but the other one just kept jumping over and over, trying to leap his way out of the well. The frogs at the top kept shouting down at him, "You're wasting your time. No frog has ever jumped this high before. And stop setting yourself up for disappointment. Also, this is just embarrassing. Stop kidding yourself. You are not getting out." But the frog kept leaping. He would try and try, stumble, get winded, and try again, forcing more power into his rear legs each time, trying to jump a bit farther each time than the last. No matter how many times he felt like he had hit his limit, he would try again, and each time he would jump a little higher than the last. Finally, with one almighty leap, this little frog soared upwards and cleared the lip of the well. He was free. All the other frogs gathered around him, patted him on the back, and congratulated him on achieving the impossible. One of them asked, "So how come you didn't stop when we were all advising you to?" The brave frog laughed and said, "Oh, you were telling me to stop? Well, I have a hearing problem, so I thought you were all cheering me on to keep jumping." I often tell my son this story to teach him how important it is to have a positive attitude and to associate yourself with positive people. But for us adults, there's yet another message hidden beneath the surface. You see, the frog who kept trying to succeed eventually managed to leap out from the well because each time he tried harder than the last. If you picture what it must have taken to actually get this little frog to exert more and more energy, put more and more effort into each leap, even as he got more and more tired and frustrated after every failed attempt, it becomes clear that getting out of the well took no less than a superhuman effort. So the question is, are we all superhuman? Are we all capable of this superhuman feat of endurance required to surmount the imposing, intimidating, insurmountable obstacles in our way? Can we actually keep trying in the face of failure and rejection? Can we actually get up from a fall and not only keep going but push harder? Be honest, you don't find it so easy to say yes to that question, do you? It sounds like a lot of hard work, doesn't it? How about achievement, Arana? You have to kill yourself before you get it. Isn't it better all round for everyone if we simply accept our lives as they are without whatever lofty goal we've been breaking our backs to pursue? Is that not a more realistic approach to life? Who has it in them to keep throwing more and more energy at a dream even as we keep falling short with each attempt? Who has the energy for that? Well, you actually. You have the energy for that. Did you know that the human being's hair will keep growing even after death? Yeah, I read that somewhere. But it speaks to the apt metaphor of infinite possibilities and boundless potential for growth that we all have. Look, there are two ways to approach a problem. Either you believe there's nothing you can do about it, or you try to believe that you are the only one who can do something about it. And that's what the story of these two frogs is about. In this world, the only difference between the successes and the failures is that the successes are always trying. So it's time to make that decision that will change your life. Are you going to find yourself a nice, comfortable spot where you can sit quietly and watch the world flow down the river? Or are you going to keep jumping until you make it? My name is Kojo Yankson, and each time I leap, I go higher. Good morning, Ghanafo.
Hello, good morning and welcome to Joy News at 6. The news Radio Max Western. Download the MyJoy Online app from the Play Store for Android or the App Store for iOS users to listen live on the internet. And coming up, traders at Krofro Market in Kumasi devastated after fire ravaged more than 10 makeshift structures this dawn. We'll get the latest live. Also in this package,
we won't allow any imam or any pastor to disintegrate this country into chaos. This is a country for you and I. Even we must speak out. We won't allow bigotry, whether it is coming from the Christian community or the Muslim community.
Minority Chief Whip and member of the Muslim caucus in Parliament, Muntaka Mubarak, says they will continue to fight Wesley Girls' decision not to allow its Muslim students to fast in business.
New transport fares likely to be determined today as operators resume negotiations with government. There's more on the Joy Business Report.
That's coming up with Daryl later. And Infansipim School, University Practice SHS, Asin State College and Edinaman SHS qualify on first day of regional qualifiers for the National Science and Maths Quiz Championship scheduled for October this year.
I thought we were going to be a mad, but we were not mad. We took it far from the...
Boys are good and our girls, they are good.
I'm Arba Kumsons. Thanks for staying with us. We are your home of independent, fearless, and credible journalism. In our first story. Yes. Wailing from a victim of a dawn fire outbreak in the Ashanti regional capital, Kumasi. The fire ravaged more than 10 wooden structures in the Krofro Market. The structures, we are told, also served as homes for some people. Several items have been destroyed by the fire, which started around 1 a.m. Some of the victims spoke to our sister station, Love FM.
I shouted for help, but it affected my shop and I had to call people to get out. I heard explosions. He woke me up and I realized the place was on fire. I took my child and asked the others to do the same. My money is bent. If I had a helper, I could have done something. I broke the pipe but couldn't do much.
So those were some eyewitnesses at the Krofro fire outbreak. And Nanaya Ojima is with our sister station Love FM. He joins us on the line. Nana, you were on the ground. What's the extent of damage done?
So we are talking about shacks, wooden shacks, which used to be residential facilities for some people, and also they traded within these wooden shacks. So we are their equipment that they use in their businesses and other household equipment have all been destroyed by the fire. It took the intervention of the fire service to prevent the fire from spreading to other wooden shacks within the area.
It is built anyhow, and even accessibility of the men within the structure is very difficult. There's no casualty at the moment. You've not received any report of any casualty. But as you see, the whole structure is bent down. We received the distress call at 0211 hours. That's 2:11 p.m. And we move in and we assess the situation. That's the Menchia fire station came in and we assessed the situation and got to know that one fire engine cannot put off the fire. So we requested for another engine. That's the Tech fire station also came in to assist. And we brought the fire under control. We are still doing our investigation. When we are able to establish the cause of fire, we'll let the public know.
So that's DO1 Amos Aban. He's the Menchia Divisional Fire Officer. Earlier we heard reporter Nanaya Ojima. Away from that, Minority Chief Whip and leader of the Muslim caucus in Parliament, Mohammed Muntaka Mubarak, is warning that they will not watch on for any religious groups to plunge the country into chaos. Speaking on PM Express on the Joy News channel last night, the Asawasi legislator expressed his frustration that the Christian Council and the Catholic Bishops' Conference have thrown its support to the Methodist Church and Wesley Girls SHS on its decision not to allow Muslim students in the school to observe the Islamic ritual of fasting, an action he says has exacerbated the situation. The Muslim caucus in Parliament has been engaged in a series of dialogue with the Methodist Church and the Ministry of Education to find a resolution on the matter.
We won't allow any imam or any pastor to disintegrate this country into chaos. This is a country for you and I, Evans. We must speak out. We won't allow bigotry, whether it is coming from the Christian community or the Muslim community or the Buddhist community or any community. We are one unit, it's a unity state. We all subscribe to live under this constitution. Let us respect it. Let's try to dialogue and let's try to cool the temperature in our country.
Meanwhile, the Ghanaian US-based attorney and an old student of Wesley Girls SHS says it's not only her former school disallowing Muslim students from fasting. She alleges that the school is not allowing Muslims in the school to observe their 5 daily prayers.
They are not being allowed to pray. They are not being allowed to even talk to each other as Muslims. The whole concentration on the fasting kind of baffles me. Wesley Girls has never recognized the Muslim students. There's no Muslim association in the school, and
But in a spirited defense, immediate past National Vice President of the Old Girls Association of the school, Harriet Rekubrobi, said her association is troubled that the school's name is being dirtied over its decision. She maintained that the decision of the school not to allow fasting in the school is not a religious decision, but one born out of previous experiences of students suffering health conditions after fasting.
Our issue is that story is incorrect. It's a misrepresentation of fact. And I find it unfortunate that the school should be accused of being bigoted and so on and so forth. I think it is a pity because there are rules in the school. In the 1990s, the no fast policy started at that time because of girls who developed ulcers and collapsed and so on. We cannot trivialize the health of people.
Harriet Rekubrobi is National Vice President of the Old Girls Association of Wesley Girls. To some politics now, and co-chairman of the Joint Steering Committee of Akpafu and Lulubi Traditional Areas, Dr. Joe Adai, is kicking against the Electoral Commission's move to lay a constitutional instrument before Parliament to amend the law to allow them to vote in the next election. Deputy EC Chairman in charge of Corporate Services, Dr. Bosman Asari, on the probe on Joy News, said the EC has begun the process of amending the CI 119 and 128 to allow residents of Santrokofi, Akpafu, Likpe and Lulubi, that's SAL, to vote in the next election. But Dr. Adai says tracing the root causes of their disenfranchisement will resolve their grievances.
I mean, it doesn't make sense to me. And I think the people of Lulubi and Akpafu will not be satisfied with this arrangement. I mean, let's look into the basic problem that caused our disenfranchisement. It is this Justice Roberts Commission's report, which is the basic problem that brought our disenfranchisement.
Dr. Joe Dai is a co-chairman of the Joint Steering Committee of Akpafu and Lulubi Traditional Areas. Now, it's a familiar story. Many of the young girls plying a trade as kayaye in Accra's markets have had to drop out of school. And Old Fadama, where many of them live in Accra, has no public school. In the second of a 5-part series shining light on the lives of head porters in Ghana, my colleague Justice Bedu asked Valentina Roberts, who he followed for days in Ghana's largest slum, about why she left school, the risk of getting raped in a slum, and dreams of going back home.
The children learning here today show a ray of hope in the midst of gloom. This is a center where kayaye who have given birth bring their children to be taught so they can go back to work.
We just want to change the future so that these children will not join their mother's paths in doing the kayaye job.
This school could give these children an opportunity their mothers did not have. Like many of them, Valentina fell out of school when she was in JHS 1.
I always wanted to go to school. My father had many children with 2 wives. He's thus unable to take care of us in school. So I decided to migrate down south to work for some money, acquire a sewing machine, go back home and learn how to sew.
Now out of school, she says she wants a sewing machine to learn a trade.
I thought we were going to be a mad, but we were not mad. We took it far from the...
Boys are good, and our girls, they are good.
And in Fantipim School, University Practice SHS, Asin State College and Idinaman SHS have booked a place at the National Science and Maths Quiz Championship scheduled for October this year. Infantiman girls, for the third time back-to-back, will mount the national stage after they were walloped with a 48-point gap by University Practice Senior High School. And we have all those details coming up in the midday news. Do be sure to stay tuned. But our top story today, traders at Crowford Market in Kumasi devastated after fire ravaged more than 10 makeshift structures this dawn. There's more on My Joy Online. I'm Arbor Crimson. Thanks.
Charlie, check this. You don't feel out? The sound of this engine. Music to my ears. I tell you. But you check your engine oil.